The next query we're going to look at is query 11. The invoice details, number, date, email address with products and their prices and the quantity of each product on the invoice. Okay, so this is fairly straightforward. It's just the invoices and the information that we would normally find on an invoice. However, you can see that not all of this information is in the invoice table. So if we look at what we need the invoice details, number, date, email address. Okay, so a number, date, email address, that's there. And we also need the products and their prices. So we need the product number, the description, and their prices, and also the quantity of each product on the invoice. So the quantity is here. Now you can also see that we've got a unit price here and a unit price there. Stop for a minute and think that why that might be. A product might have a recommended retail price, and that might be this unit price here. This unit price here might be the price that they actually sell it for. If you've ever shopped in the Good Guys, you know that very, very rarely do you pay the full price for an item. That's just as an example. You walk in, it's got a price that's advertised, and then straight away one of the salespeople will offer you it for less. So this unit price on the actual line item, the line item being each line on the actual invoice, may well have a different unit price than on the recommended retail price of the product. So you notice that these, even though they're called the same thing and they have the same type, are not connected because they are not the same thing. They might have the same name, but they're not the same thing, and they're not a foreign key and a primary key. Okay, so what we need is the products and their prices, and in fact, since we're talking about invoices, we probably need this unit price rather than that unit price. We want the price that they actually paid for it and the quantity of each product on the invoice. So we need which tables? Invoice, line item, and product. So with that in mind, we can start on our queries. So let's select something, doesn't really matter what at this point, but we're going to select from. Now, because we're talking about invoices, I'm going to start with invoice. I could have started with product. Now, I'll just leave it as invoice at the moment. And then what do I need to join to invoice? Well, if you have a look, you can see that invoice joins to line item, and it joins using invoice number. So what we need to do is join line item using invoice number. Okay, we now have a result set which has the invoices and the line items attached to them. We now need to actually join up the product information. So we need to join product using product number. Okay, you can check if you like that I've joined that correctly. It uses product number to join those two. Okay, and we might want to order this by invoice number and line number. Okay, now that sounds great, but we haven't actually put in what we want to find. So if you remember, we wanted to find the invoice number, the invoice date, the email address, so that was the information from invoice. Then we wanted to find the product number and the description, and then the unit price from the line item table and the quantity. Now you can leave it like this, or you can make a return at the end of this line and push all of this across to make sure that you understand that it's selecting all of these things. It doesn't really matter, it's just a matter of style. SQL sees it exactly the same. Okay, now this is great, but if I press go, I think this is going to cause me some problems. If it doesn't cause me some problems, it will in some database management systems. But let's see. Okay, now it's saying that the column unit price in the field list is ambiguous. Now that's because that unit price is in both of those tables. And so what we need is we need to identify that we want it to come from the line item table. So I'm just going to put an alias for line item so I don't have to type line item every time as line item, and then I can put line item dot unit price before that. What that means is that I'm saying I want the unit price out of the line item table. We could do the same thing for invoice, just to make sure that this is going to work for every database management system. Invoice as I, and then make it I.invoice number. Invoice date only appears in one of the tables, so that's okay. I'm just going to give us a bit more room here. Okay, invoice date only appears in one table, so that's fine. Email address appears in only one table in these three tables, so that's okay. Product number actually appears in two different tables. You can see it's joining product and line item using product number. So we probably need a as, whoops, wrong one, as P. And then we can say p.product number, which just identifies that we're getting the product number out of the product table. Description, and description's only in one table and quantity is only in one table. So that gives us the right answer. Now, if I press go, we can now see that we've now got the invoice number. Okay, this invoice, the email address of the person who bought it, the product number for that particular thing, and you can see that and the unit price that they paid for it and the quantity. Okay, so we've got our answer and our result set for our invoices. Okay, so let's just check that. The invoice details, number, date, email address with the products and their prices, and the quantity of each product on the invoice. And that's query 11.